Hello, this is Mark from I Am Organic Gardening, located in Zone 6B in the state of New Jersey. And it's been 3 weeks since I've done a video. I've been busy cutting sunflowers in the field, trying to make some money on my farm here, on my 22-acre farm. And in the last 3 weeks, we've had the most intense, crazy weather, 99 to 102 degrees Fahrenheit, steamy, but the tomato plants are loving it. And these have grown so much. And in a little bit, I'll show you a clip of what they looked like before I started out 3 weeks ago, just planting them into this winter rye bed. And now it's time to build the trellis on this. We have a we have a tropical storm, Elsa, coming, and it's supposed to hit us tomorrow at 50-mile-an-hour winds and give us about anywhere from 2 inches up to 5 inches of rain, but that can change every half hour by the time it gets here. Hopefully it will slow down and the power won't go out. So let me show you the tomato plants, what they look like just 3 weeks ago, and then we're going to start building our trellis because I want to secure these plants up before we get those 50-mile-an-hour winds. Here I'm done planting up all 8 tomato plants, having 2 rows here, 4 in each, and now the only thing I have to do is bend some of that winter rye and cover that soil up around each plant. I just want to show you before I do that. Here we have a much better view how much they've grown. In the front we have our cherry tomatoes in the front, and then we have our large beefsteak tomatoes in the back over here. Now they're starting to flower. They're looking good. Hopefully it's not too bright so you can see. We have some nice flowers setting in. And here they are. And also probably in the next video, if I get to it, and hopefully I can, is I'm going to show you how to stop blossom end rot on those tomatoes. And in this spot here, we can see it's a nice formation of a long cherry tomato process here. We have a little tomato on the back here. So in the last 3 weeks, I've been coming up with a couple ideas how I want to establish a trellis inside this raised bed. Now, my key factor in choosing this is it is a raised bed and it's 20 inches tall. So I said, I want to use that to my advantage. So instead of just putting, let's say, 4 stakes in here and putting a metal trellis on it, that would be very simple to do. But I also would have to pull those stakes out at the end of the year because I want to plant winter rye in here. So I want this whole space available. So how can I keep this available without putting stakes in here? So I decided to put 2x4s on the outside on both rows, on the end of each row here, and then put my metal trellis that would go inside here. Now I can get access to cattle panels, and I know a lot of people can or not even available in your area, or it's hard to even bring them home. So in Home Depot, and I'll mention that name or something like that, there is a trellis that is not a trellis, it is a grid pattern of metal. It's not galvanized metal, it rusts, and it goes inside sidewalks. And I'll give a picture of that, a little clip of what you can look for at Home Depot and what they sell for. And it's about 7 feet long and about, let's say, 4 or 5 feet tall. And what's nice about it is that you can roll it up if you wish to. You can fold it in half and unfold it when you get home, that type of thing. So I'm going to be using that as my metal trellis inside here with the 2x4s in the end. And the only thing I'm going to do is, and they finally got it back in stock, is I'm going to use 3/4 inch electrical conduit, and I'll show you a picture of that. Here's our metal conduit, and what they use this for is electricians use this for to run wire in and keep it safe inside your home or inside a business or next to a concrete wall. There's a tag that's on it, and the 3/4 is, I believe, the inside diameter. So I'm going to drill a 1-inch hole through the with a paddle bit through the 2x4, and I'm going to use this on top and bottom and hang my metal trellis in between it. And here's what the metal trellis looks like. It says it's not galvanized. Hopefully you can see this and it stands up because it's not too much of a contrast here. But this is our wire trellis. And what's nice about this, I always like to use, when you have something available in these things, I'm going to say each one of those holes are like, say, 5 inches by 5 inches or maybe 6 inches by 6 inches. And what's nice is you can reach through it, or if you have tomatoes growing, they won't grow and then on the trellis they'll push away from it, so you don't have a tomato that's like kind of wrapped around the trellis and actually ruin your fruit there on your tomato plant. So the first thing I'm going to do, and these measurements are for me only because I want to see where I planted my tomato plants. So it looks like it's at least the first tomato plant's in from 17 inches from the edge on this side, and this is going to be about, again, 17 inches from this side too. So now I can put the middle of my 2x4 on that center there and just attach it to the bed like so. So now I'm going to measure the bed where I think I'm going to put a screw. I'm only going to need 2 screws. So my first screw is going to go at about 4 inches off the ground, and also at 14 inches off the ground. So we're just going to measure 4 inches and 14 inches. Now again, these measurements are for me. You're going to have to just do the same thing and compensate for what you need to do. So it's going to be different from everybody because we're doing this later. Again, I would build my trellis ahead of time. Now I'm not going to pre-drill these holes because I'm not worried about the board splitting. The screw I'm using is a 3-inch screw. And now we're going to put my first board up like so. There we go. Now you can pre-drill your holes if you want to. Again, I'm not worried about splitting. Now you can see here that I've attached both 2x4s that are 8 feet in height. Now you can cut them down shorter if you wish ahead of time. I'm deciding I'm going to leave them 8 foot tall because I don't know how tall these plants are going to get, and I don't want to add something on later on. I figure let me see how it works out this year. So I have both 8 2x4s sticking on the beds and 2 screws, one on the top, one on the bottom, in the middle of each of the raised bed height there, something like that, at the 10-inch mark. And now I'm going to do is I'm going to measure up probably like 2 inches on each side by the 2x4, and I'll give you a close-up of that. I'm going to drill a 1-inch hole here and here after I measure 2 inches from both sides. Now I also use a level pretty much because eyesight is good about leveling things off, but sometimes when you do it, as you know, you're way off. So I put a level on here and make sure the 2x4 is going straight up in the air. When leveling, put your top screw in first here, and then put your level next to the board. This way you can tilt it either way, and just make it tight enough so it doesn't slip out of your hands. And then make sure you're level, and then you have your other screw on the bottom here, and I just moved it a little bit like so, and that's good. And just put your last screw in here, and then you're all set. And recheck, and everything's level. Measure up from the top of my bed here. I'm going to measure 2 inches like so, and then I'm going to measure across. The board is about 3.5 inches, so basically it's 1 3/4 is my center. So I'm going to mark that. There we go. And now I'm going to drill. I have my drill here with my paddle bit on it, like so. And the paddle bit is a 1-inch paddle bit. Make sure you're level going in, so there'll be enough room on each side. And it's almost through. I just want to go on the other side like so. There's a little bit of a hole there already from the point, and there we go. The same thing on the other side here, like so. Now we're going to slide our conduit, or electrical conduit, or EMT, that's 3/4 of an inch, into that hole here, and we're going to just push around the back of our tomato plants like so. I'm sliding it on the bottom so I don't hit any leaves, like this, and I'm to the other side like so. We'll go around over here. This is my pipe. Give a little bit of slack here, and like so. Now, it's up to you how far you want it to stick out. I'm going to say with me, at least about 2 inches The pipe is longer than we need, so we'll go back on the other side, but I'm just going to leave it for now because it's not in my way too much. So I have that one pipe, which is the bottom of the trellis, and now we'll measure up and do our top rail. So hopefully you can see this here. The trellis is underneath my tape here, and it's 3 feet 6 inches. So I'm gonna measure up 3 feet 5 inches from the top of my rail here. So what we're gonna do now is measure up 3 feet 5 inches from the top of this. And then we have plenty of overlap for that trellis here. So 3 feet 5 inches, like so, and then measure 1.75 inches in from both sides, and that's your center. So now we got both holes drilled, each one of the 2x4s on each end. We're just gonna slide this through nicely. Now we use a 3/4 inch bar again, electrical conduit bar. Let's see if I can do this from one hand on one side. And there we go, like so. Now hopefully the easy part, we're gonna come in on this side like so. We're gonna drop our trellis down in between the tomato plants like this. A good start. And now I'm just using aluminum ties, fence ties here. Now this is only about 7 feet long, so I'm gonna go in about a 1/2 foot on both sides, and we're gonna just bend this over just to start with, like so, to hold it in place. And we can always measure it later. So I'm gonna hook this on the back like so, and then bring this around like this. I'm gonna tie like that. Go back on my other side. And I'm probably only gonna use 4 of these to secure it. I'm just looping it around like so. This one I have in the center. I just do a nice, it comes with a hook already around it. So I put the hook on it, over the top, loop it around, and then just bend it until I run out of wire like so. And that's not gonna go anywhere. That's not gonna be pulled down by the wind or tomato plants being so heavy. Now I'm gonna do one in between each one. And so I'm gonna do a total of 5 aluminum ties on the top. So you can see here on my top bar, I have 5 ties that I did across the top. I just loosely wrapped around and make them strong because these are reusable. I'd rather use these instead of tie wraps because I can reuse them probably for the next 10 years at least or something like that, before where you bend them probably breaks off in a while. But I also use them to also hold my tomato plants, and also too I'll do the bottom with the same technique, wrapping around and holding that tomato trellis in place. This is how I'm going to do the bottom. Again, come in like so, wrap around. These are long like this and like that, and that's going to secure that tomato plant, like again, very nicely to that trellis. So now we have our tomato plant, and it's quite large, this one. So I'm going to just push a couple things out of the way here. And again, I'm just going to use my aluminum ties, hook it onto the tomato trellis, pull the tomato plant up close, and just wrap it around it like so. And that's going to give it a nice secure fit to it. Now you can loop it back. It depends how far your tomato plants are away from it, but you can adjust it anytime during the growing season. Here, let me get it better. So here I have it wrapped around the tomato plant, and it doesn't go back that far. I don't want to break that tomato leaf off, but I can always readjust it later on. That's the best thing about it, is it's not going to harm it if you redo it again in another week. Now here's a better example. I actually started with the hook. These are 9-inch long aluminum ties, and basically I start here, wrap it around, and then hook it again and bend it, and it stays in place. It is awesome, and it's totally reusable again for the next 10 years. So there you have it, a great tomato trellis, nice and easy, holds up your plants, will last. You can get in and access the area nice and easy. At the end of the season, you can take everything down nice and easy. Again, you can cut the pipes off towards the end, whatever you wish. Boy, it's hot out here. It's got to be 102 degrees already, and I think I lost a pound of water weight already just being out here. But also, I just want to show you how my other tomato plants are doing. This is the last group I planted. I have something over in my aluminum raised bed, and I just want to show you my other tomato plants that are growing on my cattle panels. So if you hang out for another, let's say 5 minutes, you can see the rest of my tomato plants, and I can get behind the camera instead of sweating on camera, and let me show you what's going on. Here I have my 25-year long-lasting raised bed. That's aluminum, and with the metal cattle panel on the outside to give it strength, and a top edge of some wire cable conduit that goes around it. And you can see these tomatoes are loving that raised bed. This is 18 inches tall, I believe, and the variety is called yellow pear. I love it, and I can see lots of Japanese beetles going around and sitting on it, and hopefully not eating it too much, my tomato plants. I've had so many problems with these guys. Well, here's another one. Here's another one trying to chew away. Now, this is interesting. I see them all over the place, but I don't see where. I can see about at least 5 of them. And they're sitting there for a little bit and they're flying away. This is what happens when you have healthy plants. They really don't want to eat it. See how that just left after a while? They check things out and they might take a bite or two and then leave. Now, these are planted about the same time as in my raised bed. They were a little bit bigger plants. No, I planted this a week before the other one, so these are about 4 weeks old, and I have other ones that are 6 weeks old. Now, these are doing pretty good. This is in winter rye that grew in the ground in soil, real soil, clay, silt, and sand, and no other nutrients except growing a cover crop ahead of time, and they're looking pretty good. What you do see a lot of here, oops, sorry very much about that, is you see a lot of weeds growing. Weeds are blowing in from all direction, weed seeds, and they're taking hold, but we'll get to it and clean it up pretty soon. And these group of tomatoes are my heirloom tomatoes. They're doing quite well. You can tell by the leaves, the potato leaf. What's this first variety I got here? The first variety here I have is Brandywine. Oh, good stuff. They're delicious. And now, like I said, these are about 5 weeks old. I have them hooked onto a cattle panel trellis, and they're looking good. And hopefully in another month we'll have tomatoes. And last but not least, this is my single tomato plant that I planted up in my garlic. And this is the video that is garlic considered a cover crop. And that tomato plant is doing so well and so happy and healthy inside that garlic that's all around it. You can see in the background. And so that garlic establishes a nice fungi system, mycorrhizal fungi, that tomato plants can grow in there. So just giving you a little bit of update that how nicely nature works together. Here we have a nice little something I'm trying this year. These are zinnias, and they're orange in color. They're supposed to be like 5 inches across in diameter, and we'll see how that turns out, and hopefully the foxes won't eat them or disturb them. I want to thank you so very much for watching, and if you have already picked tomatoes and are eating them, let me know, because I'm very jealous of you, because I got to planting late tomatoes this year, and a lot of you, even in my own zone, got out there and planted them about a month early before I did. And let me tell you, again, I'm jealous of you, and I'm glad that you did it, and because you're gonna get that reward early, and there's nothing like tomatoes. I'll see you again shortly with another video. Please give it a thumbs up and a like, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.